Most of us share a similar concept regarding the nature of martial arts. Typically, we think that combat and fighting techniques comprise the foundation of these disciplines. The desire to achieve competency in fighting for the purpose of defense, recreation, and health are some of the more common goals that draw people to practice them. Among the arts available are a diverse range of methods and approaches. The evolution of different arts and styles is driven by the varied intents and goals of the founders and their subsequent exponents. Ultimately, all these arts fall collectively into the broad category of martial arts. However, this can obscure some of the key differences in the orientation and objectives of the various styles comprising it. In more recent times, there has been a rise in the popularity of sports martial arts. This has been predominantly spurred by the growing interest in mixed martial arts via the success of UFC. Consequently, many have reevaluated the efficiency of various historic martial arts against their capacity to contribute to competitive success in this highly demanding sport. Yet when considering the entire family of martial arts, the sports-related expressions are but a single aspect of a broader picture. Appreciating this diversity can help us understand the shared goals and differences each art contributes to the greater whole. It can also help us better understand ourselves and facilitate our personal evolution given our desires and goals. I have found it helpful to visualize a brushstroke when considering the different martial arts. Imagine a brush full with ink meeting a fresh piece of paper. When it first makes contact, there is a rush of ink creating a strong contrast against the crisp whiteness of the sheet. As the brush pulls across the page, the intensity of the ink begins to fade, making the brushstroke subtle. Eventually, the stroke recedes completely and blends back seamlessly into the whiteness of the paper. When ink first touches paper, in the context of martial arts, this is like war. It is where the original impetus for martial arts arises, in the intense experience of duality through combat. Styles formed here are instruments of destruction motivated by the instinct to survive. These are historically referred to as the arts of war. In peaceful times, a civilized society will refine these intense expressions into more subtle forms. This is represented by our brushstroke transitioning into a finer line as it progresses. The brutal military arts are softened into sports. The goal is no longer the taking of life. Instead, it has become competitive success. At this point, martial arts evolve into entertainment and recreation for self and others. The arts found here are often attractive to one's ego. Practice and competition facilitates a sense of accomplishment and comparative achievement. In time, these martial arts can help loosen the grip of the ego as the physical difficulties inherent in the task refine and mature one's personality through attrition. Beyond this point, our brushstroke continues and gets finer. In some cultures, the martial arts are recognized as methods to refine one's body and mind. Karate and Kung Fu are two examples of arts that typically prioritize both character development as well as the instruction of fighting techniques. These arts often measure progress based on physical and non-physical improvements. Competitive success and the beneficial modification of one's attitude and behavior are both seen as integral in the progress along the path of such arts. This marks an important delineation from the previous more physical martial arts expressions. We have moved from considering the body as the singular focus of martial arts development to a view that now purposefully includes the subtle aspects of the human being as elements to be refined. Here is the beginning of the spiritual martial arts. What lies beyond this point? If we return to our brushstroke, in its final stages, it has exhausted its ink and fades into the page. The physical returns to the non-physical. Martial art expression appears at this threshold as well. Aikido and Tai Chi are examples of arts that are born here. In this final stage, martial arts have become expressions of self-realization. What does such a thing mean? It helps to answer this by posing a further question. What kind of martial art would an enlightened being practice? For one that has realized union of the personal ego self with the universal spirit, there is no longer an opponent to fight, as everyone and everything is experienced as a singular consciousness. The peace and happiness of the divine self expresses through such a being and determines their responses and actions spontaneously. When in martial arts interaction, the serene reconciliation of opposing forces occurs, and fighting is no longer apparent. Techniques look like mutual exchanges or natural expressions of harmony. The internal obstacles that formerly created the resistance necessary for fighting have fallen away. Internally, the realized practitioner feels in their heart no enemy and no opponent. Not even a separate body of their own is identified, nor an independent will. One is completely reabsorbed into the natural way of things, the Tao. The martial arts expressed here are not concerned with fighting another person. They are focused on fighting the illusions harbored within to realize ultimate freedom. The martial arts have now become expressions of peace. While there are many benefits to be had to the physical, the goal of this practice is to cultivate the fruit of the spiritual by inward looking. The intoxicating joy and peace arising by inwardly reorientating moves the martial arts found here into their most subtle expressions, the spiritual martial arts. To complete our brushstroke analogy, the various martial arts mirror the development of the human being and its potentialities. They begin with the experience of duality, or separateness, and end in the realization of the non-dual, unified nature of reality. The martial arts are the legacy of lives lived in different ways, in contrasting times and cultures, that shared the common passion of martial arts and relentless self-improvement. When deciding which martial art is right for you, it is helpful to look honestly at yourself and choose an expression that will help facilitate the changes you would like to see. All of the arts pose various challenges that are remedial in so many ways. Physical and mental health are to be found in them all. One's makeup and life journey will largely determine which martial art appeals to you now. Appreciating the differences and unity of our martial arts family can help us understand how to get the most out of our practice and fully embrace the art of our choice.